I know. I was just talking to a guy who hit a pot brownie in Vegas and had to go to the emergency room.
Well, that's not pot. That's the thing about pot brownies. People think of pot as like, smoking pot and eating pot are two totally different things.
I know.
There's a thing called a one-pass, and when you eat it, it's processed through your liver and your kidneys, and it produces something called 11-hydroxymetabolite. And it's not psychoactive when you smoke it. When you smoke it, 11-hydroxymetabolite doesn't even kick in.
Right.
But when you eat it, it goes through your system a different way, and it's 4 times more psychoactive than weed. And it's a totally different drug.
And I could imagine, back in the day, eating the old weed, now it's the supercharged weed. I mean, pot is such a crazy science now. I mean, I've always, my feeling is like in NASCAR when they put restrictor plates on so the cars don't go too fast because it's getting too dangerous. I feel like I need a restrictor plate for weed. Like, the science of weed and hydroponics and everything else has outgrown my bong. Like, I'm now a little bit scared of weed.
They get freaky sometimes.
Like, back in the day, it'd be like, hand me that joint. You didn't even care who handed it to you. It was just like, suck off it, hand it to the next guy, comes back again. It's like you just keep going. It's like you're all in a foxhole sharing the same cigarette, and you copped a buzz, but you're not getting weird.
Yeah.
Now shit has purple pubic hair hanging off it. It smells of goat and stuff. And
I had some old school weed this last weekend. I was in Montreal, and I had some Montreal weed. And it was, it was okay. Me and this UFC dude, I can't say his name because he doesn't want people to know he smokes weed. And a buddy of mine, my friend Ari, we rolled up this guy's weed and smoked it. And it was just boring weed. It was like, compared to the rocket fuel that they have at the local pharmacies.
Well, let's put it this way. My entire, from age 13 to age 18, I remember smoking weed in the 8th or 9th grade and having the guy say, "Are you high?" And I'm going, I think I feel something. Are you high? I think I'm high. Dude, you're high. No, I don't. I think I'm just hyper. I think I sucked too hard on it. I got a head rush. No, dude, I think you're high. My kid is not going to be asked that question because when he smokes the purple, icky, sticky, chronic, nobody's going to ask him if he's high. He will be high.
Yeah.
Everyone is now high, right?
The Southern California marijuana, I mean, I haven't tried. Everybody's like, go to Amsterdam, go to Amsterdam. I don't know how it could possibly be any stronger than what they have in California. California is way crazier than any other part of the world. There's 400 medical marijuana dispensaries just in Southern California alone. And there's even more in Northern California. I mean, it's fucking insane how many there are.
Well, and think about how many tax dollars we're wasting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, completely wasting. And, Obama shrugs it off, laughs it off like it's a joke because, that's what he's been instructed to do, I guess. When he was running for president, he was talking about how, the war against drugs is completely ridiculous and marijuana should be decriminalized. And, here he is laughing at it. It's a source of tax revenue. The problem is these guys are all whores, and they've made all their money from pharmaceutical companies and from alcohol companies, and that's just the fact they allow a partnership for a drug-free America to even exist. They get their money from alcohol and tobacco companies.
Well, not only that, but I was saying to somebody a couple days ago, one day when I get enough FU money, I'm just going to grow a pot plant in my yard. And the idea that, Don, I hope your mom's not listening, but... Donnie's he's a homeowner, he's a father, he's a hard worker, he's a responsible guy, and Donnie's got to go down to the corner and hook up with his buddy and do whatever, and it cost him $60 for an eighth or whatever it is these days and all that shit. Just the fact that he has to leave the house, it's like, I said to my wife the other day, hey, plant some Roma tomatoes, because we go through Roma tomatoes like Mama Celeste over here, and why go to the market? We got a nice yard here, the sun's shining in Southern California. Last year we planted one, just went nuts, like barely touched it, didn't, fertilize it or do anything, just went ballistic, and every night when we were making a salad, you just walk out there and you pop one off and you make it. Or you take one of those dwarf lemon trees. You just plant it in a pot in your backyard or whatever, and whenever you're making a cocktail or you're making some fish, you just walk out and pop one off. Well, why can't you have a weed plant in your backyard?
See, that's the issue because
intent to distribute. What am I? Green?
It's so easy to grow. It grows by itself. You could throw seeds and the stuff just starts growing.
But that's the point.
You can't control it. Now you can't tax it. You can't make money.
Well, it's because we're being controlled.
Right.
We're controlled by other people. We're controlled by people who sell us things. There's a gigantic industry that revolves around people buying things.
Pharmaceuticals
and as soon as you
alcohol.
give people control to sell and buy and grow their own drugs, you got problems, man. You got a big chunk of the economy has been removed.
Yeah, so
especially one of them, the marijuana stops. There's 100 different pharmaceutical drugs that are completely unnecessary if you start using marijuana. For pain, for glaucoma, for releasing intraocular pressure, for all sorts of different shit.
Or just
cancer patients who want to eat paper.
My argument with Dr. Drew about this would always be where you'd go, someone would say, well, I hit some weed and I feel better, but X, Y, or Z problem feels better. I feel some alleviated the pain, or my appetite came by, and Drew would always be like, well, there are drugs you can take that will do a better job. And I'm always like,
no,
look, the guy smokes weed, it works for him.
Right.
So leave him alone.
And how does he know there are drugs you can take that do a better job?
Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. He's got weed, he smokes it, he feels better, his appetite returns, whatever he's trying to achieve, it works for him, leave him the fuck alone and let him smoke his weed. I can't believe... I understand speed, because speed kills, as the adage went, which is guys get beat up on speed, and next thing you know, there's a guy standing at the foot of your bed with meat cleaver. Nobody does that with mushrooms, weed, or sensory deprivation tanks. If there was a situation where, hey man, the guy got high and he broke into my house and he tried to rape my wife, well then I would like that substance controlled.
Right.
But weed, of all the things...
that's how they got it passed in the first place. That's how they made it illegal. They made it illegal, saying that black people and Mexicans were smoking this new drug called marijuana, and they were raping white women.
Right. It's really... Historically, it's funny. It's like, Tesla or Tesla versus Edison or something. You just do this one experiment where you show the alternating current and something catch on fire, and everyone just goes, all right, well, fuck it, we're going the other way now. And case dismissed, and then 100 years later, it's still illegal.
Well, when Congress made marijuana illegal, they didn't even know they were outlawing hemp. They had no idea. They didn't understand that it was the same thing. That's why they attributed the name marijuana to it. It was originally, everybody knew it as hemp. I mean, that's what they made clothes on. Until 1850, when they came out with the cotton gin, they were making clothes with hemp. The reason why they stopped using hemp was because the cotton gin made it easier to process cotton, and then slavery made it less financially, it didn't make sense to process the pulp. It was too expensive. But then in 1933, they came out with a machine called a decorticator. And a decorticator rapidly processes the hemp pulp, the hemp fiber. And so they said, well, now we have a way to do hemp. Hemp's going to be the new crop. And there's a cover of Popular Science magazine that said, hemp, the new billion-dollar crop. Well, William Randolph Hearst did not want to switch all of his newspaper facilities or his factories over to paper that was made out of hemp. He had these wood mills. And so what he decided to do was to fight the business. He decided to print these articles in the paper, and him and Harry Anslinger conspired to create this paranoia about a drug, about marijuana, and about how Mexicans and blacks were raping them.
And by the way, you're talking about, as we talked about 1933's marijuana, which was just leaves and shake and stems and seeds. I mean, you wouldn't even catch a mild buzz off of that. I mean, think just the shit. My mom was smoking in the 60s and 70s. You could barely catch a buzz.
I would like to go back in time, and smoke some of Timothy Leary's weed and see what's up.
Yeah, I think you'd have to definitely call him a lightweight, because
I'd give him one of these.
What about Thomas Jefferson or Washington?
Well, who knows whether or not they actually smoked it? We know they grew it, but the Declaration of Independence was written on hemp.
Well, the draft was.
I'm saying
the original was on animals.
Those guys were like into snuff. And smoking, pipes and things like that. Believe me, somebody did the weed. They probably tried to smoke paprika, felt, pubic hair. I mean, I feel like
Whatever, right?
they were pioneers in the smoking. Like, once the pipe was invented, it'd be like, well, see what other shit we can stuff in there.
Yeah,
who knows?
totally, right?
I mean, if you think about, as human beings, we figured out a way to eat lobsters. We figured out a way to do, make jerky. I mean, we figured out a way to eat just about anything. We probably went through a lot of smoking experiments that went bad before we settled on tobacco and weed, right?
They must have definitely eaten it first, too, before they smoked it. I mean, there's no way they started off smoking it.
Well, I just wish one politician would have the balls and the honesty to just go, look, who cares? I mean,
well, Ron Paul did. Ron Paul's talked about it openly.
Yeah.
But, people discredit him.
I mean, a non-third party guy just say...
He's not a third party guy. He's a Republican.
Oh, he is? I thought he was a third party guy.
No.
Ron Paul's just that kind of...
He's a real Republican. He's a small government Republican, a real constitution-based Republican. He's not, one of these knuckleheads that thinks the world is 6,000 years old and